welcome back to Leeds lately. Before we get into this one, make sure you hit that button down below. I understand that my shirt might be a bit see-through, but oh well. Leeds have just lost 3-1 against Forest. Forest's first win of the season after 11 games. I don't know what's going on with the hair. Some sort of craziness because of headphones, but who cares? But there are worrying signs in this game. Very, very worrying. There are a few things that I thought actually went quite well. Leeds scored a goal. They scored the first goal in a game for the first time in a while. And it was a good goal. Well worked. He took the ball off their defenders, popped it into the path of Aronson Okafor. Then Aronson slots it into the path of Mecha, who opens up enough room to score or to shoot by a little step over, just gives himself a little yard of space, then cuts it back across the goalkeeper from outside the box. Really good finish. That's about all I can say in terms of positivity about this game. Now, a lot of people are calling for Farke's head at the moment. When you consider our league position, we're not the worst proposition in the world for a new manager if someone was to come in. But what we'll say is I'm not necessarily Farke out yet, but he needs to change something. And there are consistently... Look, there may be things that I don't understand. I'm not the world's leading expert on football, by no means. But I can see that there are every single game I make a tactical preview and I talk about the things that Leeds need to be doing not to get exploited by the opposition. And at the moment, every single game we don't do those things and then we get exploited. So I'm not going to go through the Brighton game because I talked about what happened in that one. But in this one, in my match reaction for that one, if you want to go back and listen to the kind of tactical thing that I said about that. But in this one, Nottingham Forest have two large centre-backs in Murillo and Milenkovic. And both of those players like to get on the ball, have a look up, and play diagonal passes out to the wings. They did it all game, and we put no pressure on them. In that situation, let's say that somehow, as a professional football club, it slipped through your notice that that's the way that Forest are going to play. Even having watched Dyche's last however many games he's had as Forest manager. I think he's had 2 or 3 Premier Leagues and 1 or 2 Europa Leagues as well. Let's say somehow, some way, it slipped through your attention that Murillo and Milenkovic like to get on the ball and spray balls out to the wings. Let's say that that's gone past your attention. So you get into the game, 10 minutes in, you can see that that's what they're trying to do, that they're knocking balls over the top. To me, it just seems like the most obvious thing in the world that instead of just kind of Mecha sitting in a mid-block on the halfway line, you're going to have to push everybody up slightly. You're going to have to send whoever it is, so it probably is one of the wingers. So if it's over on the left-hand side with the ball, Okafor goes to the centre-back with the ball, and Mecha goes to the other centre-back, and it makes them have to think twice about playing that long ball forward. It puts them under pressure. It makes the ball more likely to be a failed pass. You've got to do something to close them down before they play those passes. And those passes are what were killing us all game. Their goal came from a similar situation. Multiple of their goals came from similar situations where it was literally just a ball knocked straight over the top to the wings. That was 90% of their game plan. And if we'd have cut that off, they didn't really look like creating much. Next thing to say is the substitutions were shocking from Leeds. Not in terms of the personnel, a bit. Let's say the triple substitution that we made first. To bring on Dan James, to bring on Piru, and to bring on Calvert-Lewin, okay, fine. You're pushing to go forward and get an equaliser or get a goal, essentially. So you put those substitutions on after the balance has shifted of the game. For me, the substitutions were so late, and they did change the game a little bit, and Leeds were able to get a lot more shots. Dan James was able to do stuff, but as a football, even just as a football fan, watching a game of football, you can see when the tide is starting to turn, and Forest were dominating from the start of the second half. They were getting more and more and more on top of us. So let's say you get to 60 minutes and you go, well, they're dominators more and more here. We need to do something to change this. So to me, I'm going, okay, well, in the 55th or 60th minute, that's when I'm bringing on somebody like Dan James. Now, for me personally, I would have taken Longstaff off because I thought he had a poor game, brought Tanaka on because he's a more tidy midfielder. I would have brought Dan James on for Aronson because Aronson didn't have the athleticism to keep the ball at any point. And I would have left Metch on for a little bit longer, but eventually maybe tried Joel Peru on his own up there. But he made those substitutions. He brought Peru on in the as a central midfielder for Longstaff. He put him in the midfielder. It was way too late after the balance of the game had already shifted and they'd scored. Then it was too late, and then you're making your substitution. That's the mistake as well. And then you're looking at Leeds going, well, now it's too late and you're having to get an extra goal. And then you concede again because you've brought on Jack Harrison at left back, thinking, oh, okay, well, winger means more attacking. Gabriel Goodmanson is 10 times the player that Jack Harrison is. I would rather have a knackered Goodmanson on than a fresh Harrison, because Harrison doesn't know how to defend. He doesn't know how to attack. He doesn't know how to deliver a set piece. I don't know why he's here. To me, it's madness sending Ramazani out on loan and keeping Jack Harrison. What are you doing with that decision? Because when you're looking at a player to bring off the bench, Ramazani has explosivity, he has the ability to go past someone. Yes, he's raw and unrefined, and there are moments where you look at him and go, oh, maybe you shouldn't have made that decision. But you're not putting him in at left back and him giving away a penalty. Now, I think that penalty was soft, and the reason for that is that I think Amari Hutchinson has realised that he is in front of Harrison. He is in front of Harrison, and he has then literally moved his back leg out, felt contact, and then dived on the floor and won himself a penalty. So they score that penalty, but regardless, regardless, they shouldn't have been in that position to start with, because why is Jack Harrison trying to defend one-on-one with Amari Hutchinson as a fullback? So the whole game was poor from us. We didn't close down the players with the ball. We didn't close down Elliot Anderson in midfield enough when he's their best ball-playing midfielder. I knew in my tactical preview, I talked about how basically Morgan Gibbs-White would go and join Igor Jesus as almost a front two at times to try and put pressure on the back line. We didn't deal with that well enough either. Ampadu, I thought, was poor, sideways and backwards constantly. For me, the only players who I'm looking at and going, you are helping us try to go forward, is Okafor and Goodmanson. Goodmanson with that run at the end was incredible, but at the end of the day, there's no end product. And Okafor, he's the only player where you look at him and when he gets the ball, he looks like he wants to try and go forward every time he gets it. And when he knows he's got the beating of a man, he gets more and more confident to go past him and go past him and go past him. Then you've got people like Calvert-Lewin. Now, Calvert-Lewin for me is... I made a whole video about how Calvert-Lewin could be good. And based on the kind of runs he makes and the movements he makes, he's got that striker's instinct. But right at the end of the game, Okafor crosses a ball into the box. You're on maybe just outside the 6-yard box. It's like, for somebody like Calvert-Lewin, that should be goal-scoring territory. He goes up for a header. He can't even get the ball to hit him on the head. It missed his head and hit his shoulder and bounced harmlessly to Matt Sells. So for me, it's like, what are you there for if you can't win a header? Can you stop, please? What are you there for if you can't win a header? What are you there for? And so, therefore, at the end of the day, not good enough again. There needs to be question marks over Farke. I'm not saying Farke out, but I'm saying there needs to be question marks as to why he's not identifying the threat from Brighton, the threat from Forest, and trying to at least do something about it in the game. That's what's getting me. So thanks for watching Leeds lately. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. There'll be some videos midweek, even though it's an international break. Subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching. And make sure you check out the link to my Etsy store in the description down below if you want to get some Christmas presents for friends and family. Thanks for watching Leeds lately, and I'll see you in the next one.